Hey, welcome back to Allison Customs Project Car TV. We're back on Revive Your Daily Driver. It's going to be episode 2, and what I have for you today is working on the rear suspension. So in the first episode, we did the struts, steering linkage, sway bar links, and lower control arms on the front. We also did rear shocks. So while back there, I kind of took a look at everything. Most of it's wore out, so we're going to go ahead and do control arms and control links, be an upper and lower link that set your caster camber and all that stuff. I've got those parts, and I just ordered them off of Rock Auto, and I bought Moog, M-O-O-G, Moog, I don't know how you say it. Anyway, I bought all their stuff to do the rear, and anything that was a combined component where you could buy the whole control arm with the bushing, I just bought the whole unit, rather than trying to go in here and replace links or replace bushings in the links. I like to do it the simple way. It's just not that much more expensive to buy it the whole link complete. But the good news is if you don't have the money to do the links, you know, it is a little more expensive. Or if you have the tools and you want to take the time, you can buy all the individual bushings and just replace them. You're just going to need a press for a means to put them in and out of the other factory links. But we're going to do that today, and we're going to knock out both sides of the rear. That should finish up the rear. We can put tires back on it. The brakes are good back there. We can go on to something else for episode 3. So thanks for joining me again. We'll get the camera repositioned back there and get started. Probably should show you the parts we're going to install. Like I said, I bought everything from Rock Auto. It's all Moog parts. We have the sway bar links, vertical links there. We have lateral arms, which are the control arms that go across the truck, set your camber and caster. I guess it would be setting your camber, not your caster. So you have the lateral links that will allow you to set your camber, and I did buy the adjustable ones versus the factory or a set length. So we'll need to do a 4-wheel alignment, which is good because, you know, it's just a good time to get that done. We got the lower link for the same thing, the lateral link. And then I bought control arms. So these are the main control arms that go front to back, mounts up underneath the body and catches the rear hub. The only thing back there that I did not buy yet, or may ever, is the lower control arm, which captures the coil spring. There's one bushing on the frame side of that and one bushing in the rear upright back there, like the spindle back there, and those bushings are available, but neither of mine look that bad, so I think I'm just going to leave them. If I decide to change it later, it's 2 bolts to take that control arm off, and well, I guess it's about 6 bolts. It's 2 for the main control arm, and you got to, you know, capture the coil springs. You're going to have to let it down slow. You also have to take loose the sway bar end link, and then there's 2 10mm bolts that go around the outside that capture the speed sensor cable. So take you 5 bolts to get the thing loose. So if I change my mind later and I decide I want to change out those 2 bushings, you can buy the whole lower control arm, which captures one of the bushings. You can buy just that bushing. Either way, in the upright, you would have to buy a bushing that you would push in and out of there, which means you got to take a bunch of stuff apart. Like I said, in my case, I don't think either of them look that bad, so I can't even see any wear in them, so I'm just going to let them ride for now. I'm trying not to spend a fortune on this, but, you know, do what needs to be done. The bushing on this end of the trailing arm on one side looks pretty checked and damaged, kind of like the front control arm did. Sway bar end links, they're kind of loose back there. And then because I want to do a 4-wheel alignment, that's why I'm going to do the 2 control links here, one of them being adjustable. So all of this should go pretty quick. We do have to support the vehicle, not just on the lift, because right now I've actually got it supported by the trailing arm in the back. So I'll have to put a jack stands under the back so that I can take the trailing arms loose, but should go pretty quick. It's 2, 4, 6 bolts for each trailing arm. Plus there's a couple of pieces where they've got brake lines and other stuff attached to it, so we'll just have to take those loose and then put them back. So from this view, you can see the lower control link, the bottom of the shock. This is the control arm that I was telling you that we're not going to be replacing, but it is available, along with this lower bushing that you would have to press out. And then we're going to replace the upper control link, which you can't see. And we're going to replace the sway bar end link over here on this side, as well as the trailing arm. Now the trailing arm, I didn't realize, has the brake, has the emergency brake cable running through it. So we will have to spend a little time to get it disconnected, pulled out, and then we can run the new one in. And right now I have the truck supported off the control arm right here. So I've got a jack in the back. We'll get a little bit of weight off this and make it to where we can actually take this control or this trailing arm loose. Alright, so once again, just hitting everything with WD-40. I did this yesterday when I put it up on the lift. So hopefully we can get everything loose pretty quick and move on. Alright, well this might offer you a little better vantage point. So we got to take this one loose, one back here, the upper control arm over here, the sway bar link here, and we'll have to pull the disc off to get this cable taken loose from the emergency brake. And then our sway bar bushings are way up inside in here, so those are going to be difficult for me to film, but we'll get them off and replaced anyway. So we've got a jack under both sides of the back. We can start trying to take a little bit of weight off of these control arms or these trailing arms rather, so that the spring is at full droop as much as we can get it, and the shock will stop it from going too far. We're going to get this sway bar end link. Alright, so I'm trying to get this sway bar end link and what's happened is the nut doesn't want to come off the stud. So it's just spinning that stud inside there, so you can try and grab the inside there with a pair of pliers, which if you can get it is definitely the easier way. There we go. So I got a part of it with the needle nose, and then it was enough to get the pair of channel locks in there. The new end links have a nut on there or a couple of flats, so you can put a wrench on the inside. So it's a little easier on the replacement versions to put them back together or take them apart again later. And we got it. So if the plier trick doesn't work or you just can't get it started, then you can put an Allen key in the end of this bolt and then just use a wrench to take that off. Alright, now I already did the clamps on the top of the sway bar, so it's actually loose. So we're going to replace those bushings. I'll get the other end link done real quick. And then the sway bar, we'll go ahead and put one side in, but we won't get the links in the way yet, just so we can get some other stuff done. Okay, so I've got the bolts back in on top for the sway bar. It's kind of a pain. It's a 12 millimeter bolt head up there. Only way I found to do it really was with a geared wrench. So there's enough room on the back side of the sway bar to get a socket wrench in there, but on the front side you can get the socket wrench in, but you can only move it just a couple of clicks. So the wrench seemed to actually work a little better. If you had a small air or electric powered ratchet, you could probably get it in there. My bigger 3/8 ratchet fit the front side or the back side of the sway bar just fine, but the front side you just couldn't even get it in there. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to leave these sway bar end links off because we have a bolt to get right in here for the this upper control arm. So we'll go ahead and we're going to do these one at a time because I don't want to have to try and deal with the spring and trying to capture all that, you know, put a jack under here and all that. So if you were doing this on the ground, you'd support the truck with jack stands and then put a floor jack under this spring, and that would pretty well take care of all your chance of this spring fully extending. So we'll just do one link at a time. This has got one of these spring-loaded cotter pins. So just this hook side just needs to be, I can't even really see that, can you? There you go. The hook side there is in one of the castle nut voids, so you just need to pry that out and then it slides right out. So I like those. It's only dealers that, or only manufacturers that tend to use them. So then we can take that castle nut loose. As it turns out, I'm going to have a jack under this spring after all. Just take just a little pressure off of this. And we're probably going to have to go ahead and pull the shock out of the way so that we can get a hammer onto this ball joint. So let's do that as well. Now I think I can get in here and hit this with a small sledgehammer. There it goes. Get this top one out. So then you can see the link there. Here's the new link. I adjusted the distance from this hole to the center of the ball joint to as close as I could get to the other one. You know, just eyeball. I didn't get calipers out or anything like that. We can install this now. We'll come back and torque everything later. Snug those down. So it's 22 millimeter for the bar, and then the jam nuts are 26 millimeter, which I didn't have, so we're using a crescent wrench, or we're using an adjustable wrench because it's not made by Crescent. We can do this lower link now and pull both the bolts off of it. Okay, so we're taking these bolts out. This one's a 19 millimeter, this is a 17 millimeter nut. And then we just got to pry this out of here, or smack it or something. This is the same part number for both sides, and they're non-adjustable. Okay, because this parking brake cable comes through the trailing arm, we're going to have to remove the caliper and the disc so we can get in behind here. The parking brake is on the inside of this drum, if you will, on the disc. So 2 Phillips head screwdrivers here, and then these look like probably 12 millimeter bolts on the caliper. We'll just get it out of the way, pull the disc off, and then we can disconnect this cable and do the trailing arm. All right, now I've had these off before. It's been 6 years or whatever, so yeah, but they both came loose. The bar is just there to stop the rotor from spinning while I get these. And obviously, if you were going to do brakes, this would be the time to do those, since you're already going to have everything apart. Because it'll build a little bit of a lip out here, and then the parking brake shoes will catch on those. If you're going to take air and you're going to blow this out, make sure you're wearing a respirator, because you don't want that stuff getting in your lungs. What we've got to do is, where this cable comes in is right back behind this shoe. We need to take that loose, pull it out of there so we can pull it out from here. So we've got to take at least half of this off. Do these one at a time. Do one side, then go to your other side and do the same thing, so that you have a pattern to put this back together. So it's not very hard, but you start getting confused with which spring goes where and which one's on top of what, it can get to be a pain real quick. So we're going to try and just take off one shoe. I don't know if it'll work. I haven't ever had these off, so I don't know how self-centering all this stuff is on this particular model. But we'll see. So we got to take this spring off, and see, it's behind this other spring. So that means we got to take both those springs off, and then we can take, once we have this one off, we can take off the retainer, and then it should just kind of let us lay it out of the way. So get a couple of tools. And then we just got to squeeze all these tines together. And I've seen where people can take a socket and slide on there. I've never tried it. I was trying to tug on this cable and it didn't have any play in it, so it wasn't really getting me anywhere. Alright, finally got it. It's a pain in the butt, don't give up. Alright, now we take loose the brake cable, or the brake line rather, just these two bolts on the back side, and then we can pull the whole control arm off. Alright, these two up onto the front are 19 millimeter. Well, this one's brake clean, so don't put oil or anything like that on any of these pieces. And the goal is just to put it back opposite of how it came apart. These pliers, I don't know what these pliers are called, but I've had them for years. I find all kinds of uses for them. They work pretty well for that process. Okay, the last item to go on here is the shock again. It's really easy if you compress it. You put it on the bottom bolt. And then as it expands up in there, it'll line up and you're done. All you gotta do is tighten it up. And again, those should be torqued really with weight on the wheels. So we've got some weight taken up by this jack, but it's not quite enough to say it's weight on wheels. So we'll come back and recheck all this with the tires, with it lower on the ground. We'll just put a jack under here so we can reach behind it without a tire on it. Okay, we're on the passenger side now. I did start the timer for the few things that I've done over here already, which is to pull this rotor, which is mostly just because I wanted to verify which direction the adjuster and stuff went when I was redoing the other side. Could have gone back and watched this video, but it's a lot more, you know, I got to go and pull the cards and find a computer and all that. Anyway, so we're basically in the same place that we were on the other side. We're ready to just start tearing everything down. This side has had the sway bar link removed because I did those bushings up on top. So like I said, I started the timer. I think we're about 6 minutes in for the sway bar link and pulling this rotor. I'll start the timer again, and I'm just probably not gonna talk very much about what I'm doing. I'm just gonna run through it, see how quickly we can get it all done. All right, what's left is the 4 bolts on top of the sway bar. They're kind of a pain. You can only do so much, you know, just a little bit of movement at a time, but we'll knock them out as quick as we can. All right, guys, that's it. 1 hour and 6 minutes to do the whole other side. And that included, I'd already started the clock for the rotor and the sway bar end link. I had not started the clock for removing those upper 4 bolts, but I had to put them back in on this side, so I figure take out 2 with one side, put in 2 with the other, whatever. Probably evens out or pretty close. If you're just getting after it and you have any idea what you're doing, you're about 1 hour and 6 minutes in it. Plus, I already had all the tools out, so you could probably add 15 more minutes for me walking back and forth to toolboxes to get tools on the last one. But there you go. Driveway job, placing the trailing arms, the control links. We're all ready now to go get an alignment. Except that for episode 3, I'm going to be doing some CV axles, and I also got the bushings for the sway bar up front, so we'll do those while we're working with the CV axles. So that'll be in episode 3. We'll come back and do that. And then I think episode 4, we've got a sponsor with some headlight bulbs, some LED bulbs, so we're going to be kind of testing, comparing what we've got factory, working up cleaning up the lenses, trying some other lenses, just, you know, kind of a little bit of everything to see which is the best way to go for us. So again, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all the other YouTube stuff. We'll see you again next time on Allison Customs Project Car TV.